live. So, thank you all for joining. Thank you. Welcome to Making Sense the Podcast with Taj. I'm your host, Taj Reed, and I'm going to be presenting a platform where we can engage into open and honest conversation in the sake of making sense of a lot of different things that we deal today um, socially. So let's kind of jump right into it. Well, there's two things I actually wanted to talk about. One was the presidential campaign that's coming up, not the campaign, but the election that's coming up November. And then also I wanted to kind of talk about the criteria of it, and that's what brought me into today's topic, criteria of a man. The reason why I wanted to kind of get into that because, let's be honest, y'all, it's kind of been a circus for the last 4 years. No pun intended, but it's the first time that I can think of in my lifetime that this, electing a leader of the free world has been such a spectacle. So I kind of wanted to dive into that because I want to highlight one Kanye West. And I'm going to talk about Kanye today because we need to make some sense out of what's really going on here. And I think that there's a lot of different narratives being spun when it comes to this. And I wanted to make sure that we are putting things into proper perspective and engaging in a healthy way about it. To everybody joining, thank you. You are a part of something that's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to do this type of platform for the last few years, and now we are here. And it's pretty dope, y'all. I wish I could show y'all the setup, but when the video comes out, you'll see. So I'm going to have like special guests coming through. In a very near future episode, I have a former police chief coming on. We're going to talk about, today's climate, police, civilian relationships, police brutality, and people will have a chance to call in and talk with him. He's a really good brother. I've known him for some years, and I wanted to bring him on to, bring in the other side of the conversation. For someone who's been, I think he was police chief for some years, but he served 25, maybe. So, for the sake of creating a healthy narrative or a healthy conversation about what's going on in today's time. But let's get back to Mr. Kanye West. I wanted to talk about Kanye because this to me is kind of a joke. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I don't know the man. We're not friends. He probably doesn't know that I exist, and that's neither here or there. But I wanted to talk about what you guys think about him running for president. And this is again a spectacle. For me, the reason why I wanted to the reason why criteria is important to me is like, what is really the criteria to become the president? Like, what's really going on here? I looked into it, and there's really only 3 requirements to become or to even be considered for president. And I was actually shocked because, one, that's something I should have learned a long time ago. But politics has never really been my thing. Never really. And I'll get into like my personal reasons later. But it's one of them things where it's just like, well, now that we're here, what's really going on. And it's a shame that it's taken this moment in time to have to, feel like that. And I'm pretty sure, and after all the conversations I've had with people about this whole thing, there's a lot of people, who are feeling the same way. So let's talk about it. So I believe the very first one, and I wish I could use my phone to do this, but I'm live, so I should have pulled up my iPad to look this up. But and y'all can like fact check me if you know it. What the three criteria are? Go ahead and throw it in the chat real quick. But I know one, you have to be 35. Two, you have to be a U.S. citizen, and three, I believe you have to have a residence of like 14 years, and then that's it. Um, and it's like, wow, like that is it. And I wanted to see what the people would think about, or what say y'all should be criteria to become a president, besides just those three. And if I'm wrong, again, put it in a comment so I can see it. Because and if I'm ever wrong on anything, please direct me to your source. I hope it's credible. No disrespect. But I don't want to, be misinformed on anything. I'm open to all perspectives. So I hope that this platform also, I know I keep kind of going back and forth with that, but I hope this platform will be, the type of place where every ideal is respected, because not one person is right on this planet. Not one. Everybody wants to be right nowadays, and that's where we get it wrong, because you exclude people's experiences. You're purposely ignoring what someone walked through to get to where they're at in life right now. And everybody's story is different. I grew up in a rough neighborhood, and it was just that. I never used that as anything to do anything. I've always kind of been like self motivated. If I want to do something, I'm gonna do it. I'm not really concerned about what's going on around me. I'm not gonna give nothing that's not helping me grow any energy. So, I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent. Let's talk about it. So let's make some sense out of this. What other criteria should there be in order to be considered for, a seat in the White House? I was looking at Kanye West, and there's just so many things that's wrong there for me, y'all. And I like to be fair, but there's so many things that's wrong there. And this is no shade towards anybody who has to deal with this, or dealing with it personally, or they know someone who's affected by this. But bipolar disorder or disease, however you want to look at it, I think if you're dealing with that, then this is not. That should be an automatic deterrent, just because of what that entails. When Kanye was at the South Carolina rally, I guess that when he announced that he was running for president, and he said what he had said about Harriet Tubman, even outside of that, he had a manic episode. Now, I personally never had to deal with that, but I know that, one of the things when someone has that type of disorder, you're either really high or you're really low. And I don't know what the triggers of that is. Like, I really don't. If you do know, like, I see some people who work in the medical field that I'm cool with. So what's up to y'all? But what are some of the things that you might have to go through when you deal with that, like medically, emotionally, You know, like does that this should that disqualify you from? Sorry, I keep hitting the microphone. Uh, should that disqualify you for being able to pursue, becoming president? In my personal opinion, I think yes. The reason why you're talking about leading the free world, one decision that you make can affect millions of people. So I personally wouldn't be comfortable with someone having to deal with the stresses and whatever comes with, being bipolar, and taking on the shouldering the responsibility of leading a nation. Like, how does that work? How are we really considering Kanye West for even being allowed to be on the ballot? Like, seriously, like I need to know. Like, I need to know, and I would really like to talk to somebody who's informed about bipolar disorder or disease, however you want to look at it, um, and really have an informative conversation about that, because this is serious business. And just say, for the sake of argument, he actually wins. What does that look like? We already know what we're dealing with when it comes to President Trump. We kind of know what we're getting when it comes to Joe Biden. What are we going to see if this man really pulls off this? Like, exactly what? I personally, I was writing down reasons today. I was doing the outline. I was writing down reasons on why Kanye West should not be president or even be considered for a presidency. And I came up with a couple. Um, I don't think he has the right poise. There's a such thing as presidential poise. I don't think he possesses it. Of course, bipolar disorder. Um, that rally in South Carolina kind of told all, because out of nowhere he starts crying. He starts talking some very personal details about his life and with his wife. And I promise y'all, I'm not going to say anything bad about Kim Kardashian, because I don't think this is the platform for that. Like, even though we might not agree with some of the things that we have been exposed to about how she came into success and things like that, I just don't think that, slamming a woman, for whatever reason is a cool thing to do. Like, I don't. I think that's like terrible. But I don't think that he stands up to pressure well. In a recent interview, I want to say it was either with Rolling Stone or Forbes or someone who put a camera in his face, and he actually came out of his mouth and said that he was pressured into supporting Donald Trump. He was pressured into wearing the MAGA hat and the Confederate flag. And if whatever pressure, to say the thing is true, whatever pressure that was presented that made you do it, what type of pressure are you going to, what type of pressure can you handle when it comes to dealing with big corporation, you know, um, big bank, the medical industry, people with financial interests in our government infrastructure. And if you were able to wear those symbols, and this is just me, I ain't speaking for nobody else, what level will you fold to when you're dealing with those entities? Big pharma, and like, what are we doing here? The person that he has named his vice president candidate is a preacher out in Nebraska somewhere. A woman, I can't remember what her name is. Y'all can fact check me on that. And then one of his advisors would be Elon Musk. How would you say his name? Mr. Tesla, right? And yeah, it's the same guy that was recently, well, not recently, but not um, too far back, was on the Joe Rogan podcast. Shout out to Joe Rogan. and was talking about integrating a microchip into the skull so you can be integrated with computers and people who will also get this chip where you can you can speak, but then you can think your thoughts and they can receive it. Look it up. I'm not even playing. Um, and he's literally talking about it on Joe Rogan's podcast. So what are another thing? This dude, this dude was trying to use his influence to get the president to free Joe Exotic. Now, if you're not familiar with Joe Exotic, it's a Netflix series on. It's a series on Netflix called The Tiger King, I believe, and I watched some of it. But basically, he's in jail right now for what is that? A plot to kill, plot to hire. He was about to hire someone to basically assassinate his competition, and her name is Miss Carol Baskin. Really interesting stuff. So, but the fact that he had tweeted this, and you can still go see the tweets, but he erased it from his Twitter account. But they were basically starting to GoFundMe to get him out of jail. And in fact, matter of fact, one Miss Cardi B said it too. I don't know if she meant in a joking manner, but there was a meeting that was supposed to happen between the West family and the president about getting him pardoned. Now, a plot to hire to kill, something like that. I'm probably saying it wrong, but this at some point we have to question criteria, because now those little three criteria puts you're allowed to go and run for the spot to run the free world. But there's tougher criteria to become a juror, for a trial. In fact, every little thing could get you disqualified from jury duty. I've seen it personally when someone sat up there and the judge be asking them questions, and then they asked them, if there's something that they should know. I've seen a person get up and say, "Hey, I'm a racist," and they were escorted out. I seen someone up there and say, "Hey, I don't really care about nothing about this. I just want to go drink," and they were excused. How's it that we're in a position where someone who's not mentally fit, and I'm not judging him. I'm literally, reading the facts, facts over feelings. He, in 2017, has come out and made the declaration that he suffered from bipolarism. And then we see, I personally think that it's been longer than 2017. Especially when there's reports of like celebrity friends of his coming out and saying stuff like, "Oh, he's always been like that." Dave Chappelle tells a story of when Kanye West jumped up on the table out of nowhere around a bunch of people that he didn't know. Just the outburst. Remember, extremely high, extremely low, extremely high, extremely low. Where you see, manic episodes. And then I think the passing of his mom, may she rest in peace. I think that took him even further down the hole. So what do y'all think? What are some criteria that should be in place that need to be met to become president? I think it definitely doesn't solve like the issues of America. But I think it will begin to alter who we would consider, placing in that position. It doesn't change the voting system. It doesn't change, but it really, I think it really will sort out who's qualified. Everybody's not qualified. And if somebody gets offended on that, like, let's make some sense out of that. Everybody's not qualified. that might not be your strength. That might not be your calling. That's and how my church folk used to say that might not be your ministry. you know, um, and I think that's what we're seeing. But how is it that now it's like we're almost afraid not to talk about it? We're almost afraid to speak up because of what other people might say. And I think we really need to get away from that. That's why we really should be engaging into, conversation with our neighbors, because at some point there has to be a line drawn. This is what I think. And I'm not speaking for nobody. So if you agree with me, cool. If you don't, that's cool too. But at some point we got to draw the line. You know, it's like this whole era, it's like everyone gets a trophy, for participating instead of trophies being earned. Just because you show up don't mean that, you're best suited. And when you're talking about making decisions, deciding, and from those decisions, impact happens to people on a mass scale. I believe that there should be more criteria in place to sort out who's best fitted or who we would nominate for that. Doesn't excuse, like, if he has some really good ideas, doesn't excuse anything. But me personally, and again, if this gets me in the hot seat, I'm built for it. But I mean it. Like, if you are suffering from that type of ailment, I do not need you to have any access codes to anything nuclear. We're just going to stop that right there. Because now we got to question, are you of sound mind and judgment, to have access to this? Like, would you give your kid a Ferrari if he just learned how to drive? Would you let him ride a motorcycle? Right? A couple other things, too, that I was looking at when it comes to Mr. West. He's never voted. He has come out and said, I've never voted before. I can go into that, but this is the same person that said slavery was a choice. But then when he caught the flack, he went back and he apologized. But he comes out and says Harriet Tubman didn't really free the slaves. And, when it comes to ownership, I think that was highly irresponsible of a thing to say, because ownership is one of the things that the black community, systemically, that's a whole nother thing, y'all. But, it's there. It ain't like anybody's making this up. It is there. We can go into probably hours upon hours of conversation about that. Just give me for 1 second. So all this, these criteria. So that's one thing. So I got to thinking, going a little bit deeper into this whole criteria thing. And socially, I believe that we're in a different place, and we can look at it from different angles. But I'm gonna look at it from just being a black man, and having to be, born and raised in this country, and then happen to have really good relationships with, some older folk who's been around a little bit longer than me, that can actually speak on some things that I've never went through, but I see the fallout from it. Community has been attacked. And when I say that, I'm talking about family, particularly the black family. I'm not going to speak on anybody else's community. I'm not from that community. I'm speaking from, the community I come from, and, speaking as a black man. Systemically, there's some things that have been in play that we've all acknowledged that is just not right. You can go look at the Crime Bill Act that Mr. Biden has helped ushered in. Once it was passed, 45% of black males were basically sought out and not sought out, but because of the system, landed in jail. Why is that? And then when all research and information points to it, no one's really trying to take accountability for it. But because of that, the one thing that a lot of people are not talking about is the effect that it had on the black community. You literally took 45% of families and dismantled them over small crimes. Now, I know a lot of people who smoke weed. Lots of people. Now, this ain't the let's talk about some cannabis or some gas, and it's not that. But I know a lot of people on all sides of the coin who smoke weed. When I worked at UPMC back in Pittsburgh, I knew doctors who were smoking weed. Like, I would go into certain rooms and you smell it, right? They chilling. They never been to jail, and this was around the look. There was people I know who went to jail for possession for years for something about small. And then you go look at. I mean, the information's there. Like, what I'm gonna start doing though, when I start saying stuff like that, I'm gonna cite the source where you can go look at like conviction rates and things like that. I don't want to be one of the people who put out something on YouTube and say, "Hey, this is truth." No, let's look at the facts. There's information's everywhere. Every tidbit of information you need, you more than likely can get it, and just make sure it's from a credible source. Like, I don't want to, say something's credible and I heard it from some random guy who's either out in the woods wearing like a camo hat talking about, yeah, this is what the government's like, or that one woke brother like, yeah, man, everything's a lie. Like, okay, point to your source. That's all you got to do. Because I'm gonna remove my feelings from it if you can point out some actual facts, and we can involve this conversation. If not, I'm gonna have to kindly ask for you guys to keep it moving. No disrespect, but you're gonna have to keep it moving. So, but back to the community aspect of it. There were some things that were just crazy, man, and we're seeing it now. Like, we're seeing it now. And it hasn't changed. The only thing that has changed is that everybody has a camera now. So there's exposure to it. So it's been 30 years since Rodney King, God rest. 25 years, Johnny Gamage, that was back in my hometown, God rest. And then a slew of people in between, from the Breonna Taylors to the Eric Garners to Mr. George Floyd, Trayvon Martin, Ahmaud Arbery, which is like 2.5 hours from where I live at. Sandra Bland, like you can run the gauntlet. Like, this is factual information, right? So nothing has changed. We're just catching 30 years of it on camera. Imagine the years before that, other things that's happened, right? So, one can make the argument about, these things. I think at this point, though, no one wants to, like, people will acknowledge it, but nobody really wants to own it. For whatever reason. And we don't got to get into that. But once the community has changed, we've seen some fallout from that. Because the one thing about my community that has been, as old as time itself, was the strength of family. Family, because of family, that's where the community started. I remember coming up, I see my brother Roy Elder up on here. Community was a little different. Like, if I did something wrong, not only would my neighbor check me, my neighbor would then report to my mom what happened. And there was a whole culture of that. We're going to keep these kids in line. Now, there were still bad kids, but there was those structures there. The infrastructure was if you're gonna do something, you really had to make sure that you was like being real slick about it, because if one person knew your parent, that's all it took. Now we're in this era where you can't speak to someone. You see somebody's kid acting out, and you just, hey man, you don't want to do that. What happens? Don't talk to my kid. Don't, a whole combative situation happens because this person feels like you're being disrespectful because you're talking to someone that doesn't belong to them. Now, fast forward, and then again, um, I see my brother John. What's going on, y'all? Hold on, let me pause for a second. I see everybody coming on. I'm live. I have a different camera, so if y'all see me look up, I'm not ignoring y'all. I'm just kind of, I'm videoing this. This is being recorded, so not on live though. They can't see the names on live, so this is, something different. But I wanted to acknowledge everyone who's taking the time to, pop their head in real quick to say what's up. Um, but back to this whole community thing and why that's important. Now that we're in this era, though, let me just kind of like jump to where I was trying to get to. I want to know what the criteria of a man should be, because I honestly believe that the world is kind of forgot because of, you go back and you let's start with the 90, what was that, 94, 96, 90, whatever, 94 or 96 when the crime bill happened. Before then, there was a plethora of black men in the community. There really was. Like, find a lie with that one. Like, there was all kind of big brothers, all kind of uncles, all kind of cousins, and everybody was cool. Either you had beef with someone, watch this, y'all. If you had beef with someone, what would you do? You wouldn't go get a gun. You know what I'm saying? You would knuckle up. You would knuckle up, settle your difference. And either one or two things happen. Three, actually. You would run it back because somebody lost. You would accept the L. Or you would actually become cool with that person. One of my greatest friends in life, shout out to Romy Rome, and he's so much bigger than me now, y'all. I'm almost average height. I'm about 5'9". Rome is like 6 and some change. Like, I want to say Rome's like 6'3", 6'4". But when we was kids, I had a little height. You know what I'm saying? And I would torment this kid, man. I would seriously like run down on him. I would see him, and the foot chase was on, man. Like, I would really try to like knock this dude's head off, right? And then one day, I don't know if it was because I got cool with his sister, because me and his sister at the time was in the same class, but he let me know he ain't with it. And then one of the three things happened. We became cool. Now, I ain't lose the fight, but we became cool. And like, seriously, that is non-existent now. Nowadays, because of the lack of, that structure, you say something to someone, you run the risk of losing your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, when there was a plethora of men out there, if you've seen, the shorties out there cutting up, they pull your collar. They pull your collar in a way where they, that person who, catching that lesson, it wasn't even received as disrespect. Even if that person didn't like what what that grown man said to him, they knew that it was real. That is one of the fallouts from, that Crime Bill Act. That was, you got to couple that with the crack era, which happened during, we know what administration that happened in. But, and then around that time too, they start putting bars everywhere. Everywhere. The neighborhood I'm from got at least, it's definitely more than 10. I would have to go back and look at when I was growing up how many you had. Rosings, there was like 10 bars. 10. And some of them were just literally blocks away from each other. Like, you can come out the door of one bar, look down like 3-4 blocks, and you see the door to the other bar. But then you go up to different neighborhoods that got like a little bit more money and things like that, you might see 2. Like Squirrel Hill probably had too, and they wasn't flat out bars. They was like mixed with like I don't know, pizza shop or something where you can go and just get a beer. But yeah, I see where I'm going with this. So now that we're in this era, and men, I'm here, we're here together. We got to set a new standard and not let the world say what we are, but show what we are. They have to come to us for that definition. Um, but let's expose criteria. What is the criteria of a man? We gotta rebuild this thing because community ain't gonna never get back to the same. Like it's not gonna get back to that. And no shade to the ladies out there. Especially I know a ton of of single moms out there. Shout out to y'all. Like for real, I was raised by a single mom. Even though my dad was, he was around, um, but I had mothers around me like my aunt Donna, my grandmother, Ruth Naomi, but we called her BB. My aunts, like I had a bunch of women around me. But the thing is, and this is a whole nother subject for another day. Um, Ladies, as much as I love y'all can't teach men how to be men. You know, y'all can't. Just like I cannot teach a woman how to be a woman at all. I can teach you how to be mindful and respectful. Uh, teach you how to have manners, but that has nothing to do what it means to be a woman or a man. And that's another thing that went away when 45%, 45% is, it's almost half. That's almost half. And then the things that were played, that's a whole nother conversation for another day because I don't want nobody to think I'm bashing and whatnot. But again, the whole motto of this show is facts over feelings. You can't argue or even have a debate with someone who is in their feelings. Let's look at the facts. There are things that happen that caused, that affected us all, in different ways. Um, Fathers not being present in households. How many people, or how many conversations you had with someone and you recognize something in a young lady and you said, daddy issues. She's being promiscuous. She's looking for love in all the wrong places. Where's her daddy at? And then you see these young boys on the corner, and I got love for them too, but they out in the corner and they're aimless. They don't have an identity, and they flock together and they start engaging in activity that you might look at and say, hey, oh, why are these young brothers on the corner? Why are they wearing their clothes like that? Why are they doing this and do that? It could very well be because there hasn't been a real man in their life for whatever reason. Whatever that reason is, whether it be jail, their father might be addicted to drugs, whatever. We can run the gauntlet. But this is information that's been proven. So, what's the criteria, y'all? What's the criteria? I see some of y'all. Listen, I see y'all. I'm looking at this live feed. I see y'all. But what's the criteria? Like, what is the criteria? You know, because there's so many things that again, I'm not speaking like women. Y'all ain't dealing with your own plight because y'all are. We can talk about unequal wages. We can talk about sexism. We can talk about rape culture. There's so many things. Like, trust me, I got sisters. I got biological sisters who can tell you. I got sisters who are not my blood, but they're very much so my sisters. Um, that can tell you what some things that they go through. Like for example, a woman could be out minding her business. Ladies, stop me if I find a lie. Oh, real pause. Hey, what's up, bro? I'm recording my first episode. And we're talking about the criteria of men. I covered Kanye West, but we're talking about, you know, life. You'll catch on in 1 second. So a young lady can go out, mind her business. She can be dressed down. I think that's what y'all call it, ladies. She can be dressed down and going shopping, sweatpants, hat down low. Don't want to really be bothered. And not one dude to see her. Short, hey, what's up? And not even be rude. Nah, I'm good, thank you, whatnot. Come here, let me holler at you. Nah, I really, I'm over here trying to do my thing. Oh, come on, man. Like, and then it gets aggressive. It starts getting aggressive, right? And then before you know, like some dudes even bold enough to even reach out, to try to make contact. Like, hey, come here. And then she's like, no. Oh man, then the names start. Oh, you B, oh you and everything comes out. And then after speaking to so many women about that, how they're made to feel, like they be feeling like, yo, this dude can try to take me out. Another thing that's really relevant that we need to really have a conversation about is sex trafficking. I think if a dude is bold enough to really ignore a woman's no that he is capable of rape, this is me. I ain't speaking for nobody else. But you got to be a bold somebody when a girl says no, when a woman says no, and is firm on that no, and you really believe that you can either convince her or take it, you are a problem. But watch this. Back in the day, not saying that rape didn't exist, not saying that sex trafficking didn't exist, but the role of men in those situations is what's lacking. Because there was a lot of dudes who wouldn't try it with a girl. And matter of fact, my brother's online, bro. Let's help people. Let's invite people to find the lie. If I found out that you messed with my sister, if my sister came home crying, my sister came home fearful, my sister comes home upset, you had to deal with me and my brother's friends and the cousins and the uncles. And if the dad was around and he didn't have a shotgun, he was still putting his Tim boots on. We gonna go stomp somebody out. No one wanted that pressure. The pressure of men being around is what's lacking. Now I ain't saying that women can't handle themselves. I'm not saying that, because I know some women that, listen, if you threw hands with them, you're gonna get your feelings hurt. But, and we're talking about, presence. Matter of fact, there's a funny story. Matter of fact, Rob is on here. That's my brother, y'all. Not biologically, but it doesn't even matter. That's my brother. Rob, I think you're gonna remember this one. We were sitting outside. This is in Point Breeze. It was me, you, I want to say Ed and Terrence. And we're sitting on the porch, minding our business, just doing what we do. And a silver Lexus pulls up. You remember this one, bro? Silver Lexus pulls up. This real slick, I listen to Fairweather Friend by Johnny Gill looking mug, gets out, walks to the back of the car, looks at it, admiring his own car that he's driving. So I don't know if he just bought it that day or whatnot, but he got out like, I'm the man. You know what I'm saying? He had Return of the Mac, probably blasting in the radio or whatnot. And he walks around the front of the car and he looks at it again like, yeah, that's me, right? You remember this, Rob? I'm waiting for you to reply. And he walks up. I'm sitting on the steps, y'all. I'm sitting on a little stoop, and my boys are sitting on the porch. They didn't even say hi. Right? And then said, you know what? If you want one, you get one just like that. And I'm looking at this dude like, I'm about to slap this man. Like, are you serious? I don't care about your car. Like, what you want? And then he proceeded to ask where my mother was at. Not, hey, is Angie home? First of all, you're in violation because you didn't even speak. There's men on the porch and you don't say hello. That's a man code. That's a criteria right there. Respect. Right? He don't know who we were. You know what I'm saying? So, where Angie at? That's what he said. And I looked at him. I said, "Excuse me, where Angie at?" I said, "Oh, okay. Who are you?" All right. So my mom come out and lets him in. Well, let me tell you how this story ended. I went in the house. Rob, Ed, and Terrence are still on the porch. Oh, Buddy came out like 2 minutes later. Guess I wasn't with it. First of all, my mom. We can stop right there. It's my mother, bruh. And I ain't gonna say y'all what I said, but trust me, what I said was enough that Buddy was like, well, maybe we should try this another time, right? The presence of men. The presence of men. You know, it was the men who were pretty much the guard dogs of the community. If anything was foul and funny, the man wasn't afraid to step up and say something about it. When the women went to go move and whatnot, just like how they say behind every good man is a good woman. Well, back in the day, that was a two-way street because a man relished having a good woman. So when she moved, he stood behind her. Mess with her if you want to. Right? This is factual. This ain't nothing I'm imagining it. I lived it. I seen it. I seen dudes who were technically some of the ones that would kind of be like a detriment to the neighborhood, but mess with a girl in front of them, mess with their little sister, mess with their mom, or mess with a woman that they respected, and see what happened. I done seen it. I seen it everywhere I went. Now we're not in that time because the lack of men. Now, I'm not saying that's like the only thing that's happened, but I got to start somewhere. So I'm looking at what happened when 45% of men, particularly black men, were removed from the household due to small crimes. And I'm talking about small crime, like maybe having like a gram of weed on them. I know somebody who went to jail for almost 5 years for having a gram of weed on them. And who does not smoke weed? Like, who does it? Like, nowadays, you find me, they're legalizing it now. It's legal in many states. And the way things is going, just because of the revenue generated from it, they're going to tax it. And this country might get out of debt from it. Hold on. What'd you say? Yeah, Rob. Yes. My brother said, for those who can't see it, I remember that day, bro. The bad thing is, in these times, we have belittled the role of men. That is a fact. We hear stuff like toxic masculinity. We hear everything. It's so bad that nowadays a man can't give a woman a compliment without it being just a compliment. And there's other things to consider when it comes to that. But I've seen it. I seen a guy in the supermarket, and it was probably like 3 weeks ago. I seen a young lady, and she, was adjusting her mask, and it's in Walmart, and he seen her face, and he walking past. He didn't stop. He just said, "I think you're really beautiful," and he said something else about her outfit, but he didn't say nothing about her body. He didn't say he ain't gawk or whatnot. He was just like, it's kind of like smelling the flower. That's how I kind of looked at it. And I'm watching the whole thing, and her reaction to it was crazy. But that's one of the things, too, that you can kind of, put that somewhere in that equation. Like it's a man's job to. Oh man, I'm about to go there. You're gonna have to bear with me with this one. It's a man's job to seek out his queen. You ready for that? It's a man's job to seek out his queen. I don't care what, like you can look at it nature, you know, when mating season comes around, the men compete, but then they show their best selves to who would be their counterpart, and then the woman gets to choose, right? That could have been her season, but anyway, Um, but it's a man's job to find his queen. Ladies, I hope y'all caught that. You're not supposed to be looking for us. We're supposed to be looking for you because we got to prove to you who we are. You know, nature. If you want to look at it spiritually, scripturally, it says in the Bible. You know, a man who finds a wife finds a what? A good thing. You know, like look at I mean, bro. We can go there. Like we can go there. But that's one of the roles of men. You know, we got respect. That's one of them. We established that. I'm writing this down too, so because I might just post this on my page so people can get it. Being respectful, you know, where's the honor at? Respectful, honorable, steadfast. Those are three good ones right there. I don't want to make this list up myself. Come on, y'all, throw something at me. Respectful, honorable, steadfast. I mean, there's so many more. There's so many more, man, because it's like everyone puts out their narrative about men, but don't understand the criteria of being men. You know, like you got to be bold as a man because you know there's a leadership role that you're in, whether you like it or not. You know, um, mm, mm. I'm gonna stop at those three because I'm going to continue this conversation. I'm going to keep coming back to this because that's always gonna be the meat and potatoes of this podcast. Because we could talk about whatever. We can talk about conspiracy theories. We can talk about the supernatural. We can talk about nature. We can talk about finances, economics, um, education. We can talk about parallel universes. Doesn't matter. We can talk about it, but it will always be where does me or where does like my brethren or even guys I have not met as men, where do we fit in all this? You know, what do we got to say about it? Just give me 1 second. I need to drink my tea. Mm. So, getting back to community and one of the key elements of community, family, and then 45% of the men aren't there, right? What's up, Kazo? I see. Um, aren't there has affected what our community once was, and not that us as men we didn't rule it. We had partnerships with our women. You know, like 45% of the men, being removed also affected how we interact with our women. This is a fact. This ain't Taj's opinion. Um, I mean, look at it. Let's look at it because like I hear it all the time, like especially coming on like Facebook and like social medias and things like that. I hear it all the time when it comes, to what women want when it comes to men, and it's like the blueprint is almost identical across the board. It's almost identical. Oh, I'm down in Atlanta, fam. I live in actually Stone Mountain, Georgia. But I've been down here for 6 years. 6 years. Yeah. So yeah, like the way the relationship between men and women has changed dramatically because community and family was affected. And again, one of the things that is a byproduct of a good man's presence. Any man I know, any of them I know, you know, just because they are there, it's a deterrent for foolishness. Like for real, like my mom, she's married now. Let's go here. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, thanks, bro. And that's another thing that when we talk about that systemic thing. Um, for those who might need assistance, one of the things that and we can argue this because you can prove it that there's a lot of people who won't get assistance unless the man is out of the house. So think about that. If you're getting like $600 a month in food stamps because he's not there, because that's one of their, one of their those things. Come on, like come on, man. We can talk. We can even talk about the child support system. Y'all ain't ready for that conversation because I'm going to dismantle that thing. I promise you, before it's time for me to go home, I'm going to really reveal what that really is down there. You got my word on that because I went through it. I went through it, and coupled on top of the other things that's already in play. Now, I ain't gonna say that like it's completely like one of those things where it's just like it's necessary. Yeah, for some, for some, for some, but for most men shouldn't even be down there. Most men, and then they show it on the highest level too. Like you'll get a celebrity. Take what's his name, Blake Griffin, from formerly of the Clippers. I don't know who he plays for now. He might still be on the Clippers, or I don't know. This man pays over 50-something thousand a month in child support. Now, I don't care what y'all say. There's not a child on this planet that has a $50,000 budget a month on what it actually takes to raise a baby. Let's just stop that. I will go there. Like we can go fact for fact. I will go there. Matter of fact, let's go. Let's do it. Let's do it. Thanks, Rob. Hey, Rob, man, don't get up here and try to start some trouble, bro. But let's go there. Right before, what is it, Heinz Field, where the Pirates play, back at home, right? The city, the local government or whoever was in charge, the powers to be, wanted to build that stadium, Hansfield. Yeah, was it Hansfield? The Hansfield, whatever, the PNC Park. PNC Park. I'm sorry. I've been gone for 6 years. Don't judge me. PNC Park. When they made the announcement that they was trying to build it, whole city, whole state basically said, where y'all getting the money from? We don't got it. And then there was some bids for, find a lie, there were some bids for, from some outside people who was going to do it, people who had vested interest in it. It fell through. Then all of a sudden, that following spring, and it wasn't even a full year, they started construction on it because all of a sudden, they came across the funding. Matter of fact, they even was painting, I want to say stars or something downtown on the ground, and people was like, "Yo, it costs X amount of dollars to, get permission and paint and permits and all that," but it was paid for. Watch this. Leading up to that, there had been more arrests from family court ever in the history of the state, where people was losing it. They was getting property seized, bank accounts were seized, a whole bunch of other stuff seized at a record high, and no one ever questioned it. Only reason why I know this is because I ran into a family court lawyer who was representing someone who got arrested, and he pointed me to the direction where you follow the money. They built that stadium off the backs of fathers. This is a fact. Go look it up. Go look it up. See where they funneled the money at. Look at how many people had got arrested. How many, like, it was crazy. And then again, I walked through it. Now I was just fortunate enough to always have a job so I can work, and try to meet my financial responsibilities. So when I would go down for like follow ups and basically checking in, they call me, come down and speak with my conference officer before you would go see a judge, and they call me down like every 3 months and whatnot, and for other reasons, but that's neither here or there because I don't walk there no more. I'm done with them. I would be down there and it would be packed to the brim every single time I was down there. Every time, packed to the brim. Can't tell you how many people I would see getting escorted to the jail cell, just from being behind. I even faced it myself once. I had a little lapse in the job, and I go down there. My father went with me, my sister went with me, and there was somebody else there. My stepmother was there, and they was really about to throw the book at me. They really were. Like the judge. I wasn't in front of the conference officer. I went in front of the judge. I forget what the sister's name is. And she grilled me, man. Every time I had like one thing to say, cut me off, talk to me like I was nothing. Like I was nothing. And I only had missed like 2 months. 2 months. Which is bad, but 2 months. Yo, facts, cuz. My cousin was down there. He said we bumped into each other down there. Like, real rap, he could tell you. I mean, just packed. It's always packed. You be sitting there waiting. You see, like, look, you see the sheriffs, and they got officers on every floor, waiting, just for the. All right, we got them. Let's go ahead and make this money, right? Because that's all it is. It's a money racket. They don't care about your kids. You ain't even gonna see 100% of the money of the support that you need for your kids. So that lets you know, one, and not a judge down there don't drive nothing, nothing less than a BMW or a Mercedes. Anyways. So, like, she talking to me reckless, and I knew it. It was over. It was over. I was like, man, I'm done. It's a wrap. I ain't never been to jail before a day in my life. It's a wrap. So she asked me to go out in the hallway. My dad knew what was going on. My dad was like, "Dag, he about to, he about to book him." I don't know what happened, y'all. I know that I said a quick prayer. I walked right back into that room. And I had one of the realest moments I've ever had with a human being in my life. I literally looked at this woman and said, listen, I know what this looks like, but I ain't supposed to be here. At all. Like, I'm not one of these guys who's trying to run from their responsibilities. And I said a couple other things. And I said to her, I promise you, if you can forego whatever this protocol is that you're about to do, you'll never see me down here again. Not to see you like this. And she looked at me. I ain't blinked. I promise you, I ain't blinked for like 3 minutes. And I'm just looking at her like, dude, you have the power right now to either help my life or ruin it. And I know God showed up that day, man, because he was like, all right. And she was like, okay, Mr. Reed. All right. So fast forward, I would go for my reviews. And then I remember the day I made my last payment. Seriously, I owe the state nothing. Matter of fact, I had paid so much into it, y'all. They was paying me back like money, like because that's how much y'all noticed I disappeared. Yeah, because that's probably one of the last times I seen you. That's how crazy I worked. Like I forewent my whole social life, and I was pretty social. I mean, I had my tight crew. We didn't really hang out with too many people, but I worked that much. I was putting in 40, 50, 52 hours, sometimes working 60 hours a week, just so I ain't have to see these people no more. So basically, I seen her. I actually I was down there so much that the woman at the front desk, I forget her name, but she was always nice, and she was on the verge of retiring. I was down there, and she was like, I was like, no, I'm done. And this woman actually came from behind the counter and hugged me. But I seen the judge. I seen that judge, and she was like, "You about to come see me again?" I was like, "Nah, I'm done." And she was like, "Wow, you really kept your word." And I was like, "Absolutely." Like in this moment, and I don't know what it is that she's saying. Like again, I credit that to God. Right, that goes well beyond my understanding of what happened. But because of that, it gave me a different perspective of things. But seeing all of that, and realizing, what has been placed upon us as men, and I've seen it for myself, there's a conversation that needs to be held. So the criteria, y'all, we're gonna bring this back again because I want to know, like, even when this transmission is going to end really really soon, in my comment box, so you see this post, give me a criteria of of a man, like what it is, and then let's build that conversation because I'm be honest with y'all, I don't like the narrative that's being spun about black men, and it's in this society, this era. All of us aren't thugs. All of us ain't, like, nah. Let's stop that. All of us don't have a criminal background, and even if we do, are we the only people that get arrested? For real? We doing that? But the importance of us is going to be highlighted, you know. And if I had to go back and jump to the very beginning part of this conversation, this podcast, when I'm talking about Kanye West, what is the criteria that should be in place that would allow him to represent us? Because, like, honestly, I, I ain't gonna go there because I don't want to ruin it. So we're gonna revisit this, and I want to thank you guys again for that. So once this is over, share your thoughts because I mean it comes directly to me. So I'll respond. Like let's really talk about it. And ladies, please, I encourage you to also, you know, drop your info because at the end of the day, that's a relationship that needs to be restored. You know, um, especially in our community, especially in our community. But y'all stay tuned. There will be merch available very soon. For this, I'm going to be streaming this on all major platforms. So you're going to see this on Spotify. You're going to see it on Apple iTunes. You're going to see it on Alexa's and something I forget what it's called. Then you're going to see it on iHeartRadio. This is all coming really really soon. It's lined up, and your support is always welcome. And this thing is going to build. And I'm reachable, so I'm gonna actually set this up so you can actually call in. We're gonna do live shows. Uh, Today was live. I was supposed to record a different episode, but I don't know, man. Something just moved in me, and it just came on. So, I hope all is well. Please keep practicing your safe distancing. Your safety protocols because this pandemic is real. We'll talk about that later. And please be safe, man. And until we see each other again, much love, and I will see y'all later. Um, mm, Definitely give me one moment to kind of work out everything right here, right now. Um, I'm about to hit record for my very first episode, and so I'm gonna be looking back and forth from actual camera and going live. I thought, going live will be good. I think I talk a little bit more fluent when I'm live because it's in real time. It's not. Um, it's, the